Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I am your host, Ellen. I am an educator for Women's Fitness Academy, podcast host, and also a binge and body image coach. Today, I have someone with me who is not from the fitness industry, but someone who I think that you guys are going to find so inspirational. Someone who I know from Sydney, but she has actually just announced that she has moved from there. She has a big following on Instagram and TikTok, and she has literally blown up in the last year or so. Someone who I've looked up to for so long, and I'm just I've been buzzing all day because I knew I was going to talk to her. So welcome, Caroline McKenna.
Oh, Ellen, thank you so much for having me on. It's so lovely to see you. Like, it's weird seeing you through a screen. I'm used to being on the beach with you in sunny Sydney, but we're both going on this really crazy new chapter in our lives right now. So it's really nice to follow the journey together. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course. Yeah, like you said, like it's funny how we kind of both moved from, like, you just announced on your Instagram that you have actually moved back home to Ireland after living in Oz for, what was it, 12 years? Is that long of it?
I was in Australia for 7 years, but before that I lived in England as a teacher, and then I was at university for 4 years. So I actually haven't been at home in over 10 years, which is crazy.
Mad. Yeah, I'm actually the same. Like, before Australia, I was in Oslo for 2 years, and then Australia 8 years, and now Bali.
Yeah, we just run away from our problems.
yeah. Oh my God, when I first moved here, I realized you cannot do that.
Yeah, no, it does, yeah.
Anyway, for the listeners who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit who you are, like why you moved to Australia, like what you're about?
Yeah, so I moved to Australia, like I said, just over 7 years ago. And I kind of went with this mentality of just wanting to travel a bit more. I had no intentions of being there any longer than 6 months, which is like all of us. And I ended up, falling in love with the lifestyle out there and realizing that there's a whole world out there of people with a very different mentality to the kind of mentality I grew up with. Where I'm from, we really live to work instead of work to live. And the Aussies really teach you how to live your life like the best way possible, where work shouldn't be the focus of your day. And I absolutely loved it. I went out there, I fell in love, got into a relationship. I was in that relationship for nearly 5 years. We broke up. And then, it was only in that time when I was on my own that I started to kind of, talk to other people, put myself out there a little bit, and realize that, expats all over the world struggle with many different things, but we don't talk about it. So I went on and decided to record a 15-minute podcast about 3 or 4 months after my breakup. And I literally just said, in Australia or anywhere you live abroad, we only ever show the highlights. We show the beautiful golden beaches, and we show what's really exciting about our lives here. But I'm going to be honest and say it can be really tough. And when I went through my breakup up here and my breakup out there, I realized that, it like upheavals your whole world. You don't have anyone there to help you. You can't just run down back to your mom and have a cry. You're so far removed from everything. But we don't show those things. We only show the good days. So when I did that 15 minutes podcast, I thought no one's ever going to listen to that. No one really cares. I don't want anyone to listen to it because it feels like my diary. Why did I do this? All of these things were going through my head. And then I just, closed the laptop, let it sink, and just thought, no one's going to listen to it, so it's fine. And I woke up the next morning and my phone had blown up, and it was people from all over the world, not just Australia, like people in Hong Kong, New York, Canada. I even had someone from South Africa message me, and they were just like, oh my God, why has no one ever spoke about this before? I feel the same. And then, I was having people in Sydney saying, oh, I totally relate to what you're saying. Can we go for a coffee? And I thought, yeah, cool. And then I was getting like hundreds of messages from people saying, "Can I go for a coffee with you?" And I thought, God, I don't have time to go for coffee with everyone. Why don't we all meet for sunrise on Saturday down at Bronte? And that's where Sunrise Social was born. And that whole idea of coming together for a coffee to watch the sun come up and to connect with other expats from around the world. And it blew up as well. And we now have 36 Sunrise Socials all over the world, in Bali, Canada, Dubai, all over Ireland, UK, Australia. So it's been a roller coaster this last 2 years. And yeah, that was all just on the side of teaching full time. I'm a high school teacher. So it's been amazing. It's been exciting, crazy, beautiful. And that's where I got to meet you as well. So the internet has been, a great friend to me, but also it can be tough too, so.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, I didn't even know that that's how you started. I've always been thinking about it. I wonder how she actually started it, because I feel like I've listened to all your podcasts, so I probably have listened to that one.
Totally.
But like, where did this? Is that what the whole idea from like the Accounty Down Under Instagram came from the podcast?
Yeah, so it literally was a 15-minute podcast, and I just created an Instagram page for the podcast because I was teaching as well. I didn't want to have my face on it. So you'll see I was called County Down Under for a long time. I didn't even put my name on it. And on my podcast cover, it's the back of my head, because I didn't want anyone at school to know. I didn't want the kids to know, because you're being really honest and open. And for a good 6 months, I got like off scot-free, where nobody in my school knew about my page. Because why would they, type in a County Down Under? And they wouldn't have ever seen any of the things on there. And then all it took was one kid to Google my name 6 months later, and an article popped up where I had done an interview. And then all the kids knew, and I thought, oh my God. But my page is all about mental health, and that's where it all came from. I grew up in an area in Ireland where we had a lot of suicides when I was growing up, and mental health has always been a passion of mine, to try and help people in any way possible. And I realized that the world we live in now, in order to reach more and more people, you have to go on to a platform. And podcasts were getting big. We were in the middle of a pandemic. I thought, no one's really doing anything. I'm not going to be embarrassed about this, because I can't even go to the bars to go and see anybody to be, embarrassed that I've done this podcast. So I'm just going to do it from home here, hide and hibernate from everyone, and see where it goes. But I never anticipated what would happen. I never expected it to be at this level and scale. And with that, it comes a lot of pressure as well, because I'm just a normal girl, and I sometimes find it hard, because you can get roped into different sides of social media where you do get consumed by it, and you sometimes can think, why is my following not going up? Or maybe I should be posing having a dinner with my friends when I just want to have a dinner with my friends, or I don't feel pretty today and I'm going to have to take a picture because I need to put content up. And all of those things can really play on your mind. But, when I start to feel that way, which happens a lot, like sometimes bloody like daily, and then other times it might only be weekly or monthly, and I might not feel like that for a long time. But you really have to come back to, like, why have I started this page? What is the reason? It's not about followings. It's not about, creating a business and being financially stable. It was to help people. And as long as you keep coming back to the values for the reason that you started, then you'll be happy no matter what, because you do get caught up in all the other stuff, and it can be hard. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's been an amazing time, and it just seems to be kicking off, which is crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And like, I just find it so inspirational to see like someone young as yourself, like a young female who is really succeeding and who also is not afraid of putting it out there. Like, I love seeing that you're, flying business or first class, or like that you're buying like fancy stuff for yourself, or you're treating yourself with like a nice hotel or a dinner or whatever it is. Like, I think it's something that's like so taboo, and we've been so raised with like, you shouldn't show off how much you're making, you shouldn't show off your success. And especially as females, like, I feel like if a man did that, it'd be like, oh yeah, like fuck yeah, I want to be like him. But as a female, it's like, oh, like, people like, why are you like showing off, or why are you posting that, or are you bragging, or you shouldn't be doing, like, you should stand in the corner and be quiet. And like, I think that we even do that subconsciously. Like sometimes I don't even want to post if I get a new client or anything like that. So I'm like, oh, well, what if this and that? But so for me, I have really been inspired by your page because you are so upfront with it and you are posting about it. And, you know, sometimes you have, as any bit of the girls, because a lot of the girls who listen to this podcast are coaches in training, like they want to be fitness coaches. And sometimes it can be really hard, like comparing yourself to other people and like not knowing like that everyone goes through struggles and stuff. So I think it's really nice to see someone like yourself who shares the good, but you also share the bad, and you share like when you are getting shitty comments or when you're having a shitty day. And I think it's just really important that we are all having that conversation with, like, open with each other, and also supporting each other when, you know, when we are doing well, and saying fuck it, like that's amazing, like you shouldn't, a comparison doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like you can also compare yourself to someone and be like, that's really fucking cool, I also want to be making that much money, I also want to be having this kind of impact on people. So to everyone who is sending you shit comments, like, I know that I've said this to you before in the DMs, like, who the fuck is this person?
I know it's crazy because I started this page to help people, and I was so naive in a sense where I didn't think I would get trolled, because why would you troll someone that's raising thousands for mental health charities, or every week turning up for a Sunrise Social, like our Sunrise Socials all over the world. You don't pay to go to them. That is, we're there. It's a team of volunteers that want to help and look after people. So why on earth would I get trolled? And then it was a real knock when I did get trolled, because, and like, I probably still get trolled, I just don't read into them anymore. But yeah, it really knocked my self-worth, because I struggle with confidence anyways, and I struggle with like a lot of things that all girls, self-esteem, everything. And people don't see that, because they see, oh well, she's asking for it if she's got this social media platform.
I hate when people say that.
I know, like, no
Ugh.
one deserves that, and I just don't understand that whole thing. But yes, you have to have a certain amount of balls to be able to say the things that we say, because you're totally putting yourself out there. But the reason behind why I'm doing that and saying I struggled with a breakup, or sometimes, I feel down, is because I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. And if that helps save one life, then I'm happy to do that. And I also find that when I was on social media struggling myself through my breakup, I couldn't find anyone to relate to online, because everyone just seemed so happy. And I was looking at other Irish influencers out in Australia, Irish influencers around the world, and they just seem to be in these picture perfect relationships. They didn't seem to ever have to have an argument or talk about the difficult days, or that, they went through a tough time to get to that engagement that they finally got to. Because that's real life. Like, no relationship is perfect, but they weren't showing that. And also, for teaching teenage girls, which is what I do, I wanted them to have a proper role model to look up to, because I know how much social media impacts their generation. And I thought, well, if it has to be me, then, well, it's going to have to be me. And I just talk about everything, like shit days, the amazing days, even living abroad. I talk about, like, it is the best place in the world to live, Australia. I loved it. But you have to work your ass off, and you have to be prepared to do that. And coming back from that now, I'm actually it's really nice to slow down again, a bit like you said about being in Bali. Like, sometimes you can get caught up in the rat race, but we don't talk about that. We just talk about the sunshine. But then people go over with this expectation of they're going to spend their day at the beach, but no one's told them you've also got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work all day, and then you can go to the beach. And by the time it comes to going to the beach, you're fucking tired. So, yeah, it's nice to be honest. But yeah, there's always trolls. You get it as well. It's, people are mean, and that comes from their own insecurities. But it's hard to understand that when you're reading a comment about yourself, to not take it personal and think that, oh, that person obviously has issues, because it does hurt. We're human, and it hurts.
Yeah, of course. And like I was talking to someone about this today, and like, you know how like traumas work and childhood traumas and stuff, and how it can trigger something inside of you. But sometimes it's not even about the trauma. Sometimes it's just about someone being an asshole. And
Mhm.
of course you're gonna get mad. Of course you're gonna get upset. Like if someone is being an asshole to you, it doesn't even have to do with any like your triggers or you know, inner child healing or anything like that. Like sometimes people are just fucking really mean. And yeah,
Yeah.
definitely does say something about them, and it's never really about you, because a person who actually was genuinely happy would never say that. And someone who's doing better than you, they would never ever be like, I need to push that person down, because it's only people who do it from jealousy. Um, Sometimes I get people who message me and they like honestly, it's mostly other coaches, which is just jealousy. And then I think it's because they don't really understand, or you know, I have a very different point of view of how I coach and the results my clients are getting. um but it is really like, I just, for me and for you, like I just don't understand how, why you would ever feel the need to send that message to someone, because when you have been on the receiving end, like, you know how much it hurts, and like you can grow as big balls as you can, but that initial, when you first read it, I don't, well, I don't think it ever is gonna just go away. Like you're always gonna, well, I think maybe one day, but at the moment I'm definitely still at the point where if I read a nasty comment, the first thing that happens is I get really triggered and I feel really hurt and I take it personally, and then, you know, you work through that. But at the moment, then yeah, like, do you still get that, or do you feel like you just don't even care anymore?
No, I am exactly like you. No matter what, it triggers me. And I don't know about you, but I always get anxious when I do a question box.
Oh god,
Like,
yeah.
as much as I love doing question boxes because it's good to know what people are interested in, you know, what they want to see on your page. There's always one comment. And before I had announced that I'd moved home, because I was still going through the emotions myself and trying to figure out what it is I want in life next and trying to navigate this next part of my life. I hadn't told many people. I mean, I was even getting my family to lie for me right up until yesterday. Like if my mum was stopped in the supermarkets, like, and someone would say, "Has Caroline moved home?" Mum would be like, "Oh, she's just here for the meantime." You know, I didn't want anyone to know because I didn't want anyone else's opinion, because what happened to me was I started to tell a couple of people in Sydney that would be like people that would be I would see on a daily basis, or someone at work, or someone that would be down at the beach, and the odd time I would get a why on earth would you move back to Ireland, or that's a really bad idea. And then I would start to think maybe it is a bad idea, and I wouldn't listen to how I actually felt. So I stopped telling people and kept focusing in on what I wanted. And anyways, kept it very, very small. Like, you know, like I kind of said to you, I didn't even want to tell you, because I as soon as I said it out loud, then it was official, and I wasn't sure I was ready to make it official that I wanted to stay here. But someone found out anyways. I don't know who it is. They created a fake Instagram and they wrote in my question box, "When are you going to tell your followers you've moved home, you fucking fraud?" And Ellen, it absolutely killed me, because I mean, I've been home now 2 months and I hadn't planned to leave it this long to tell people. But that comment before I'd even stepped home on that flight knocked me for six, because then I started thinking, am I a fraud? Like, is it fraudulent to want to go home to spend time with your family, your elderly parents, your sister that's about to have a baby? But I started to believe that comment and started to feel like maybe I am a fraud. Maybe I'm selling this Australian dream and that I'm leaving it. Maybe I need to stay in Australia to continue this content. And, you know, I was nearly going to stay in Australia just for the sake of other people and feeling like, oh, well, my page is associated with Australia. I've got to stay there now. And yeah, it really, really knocked me. So question boxes and things like that, no matter what, still get to me. Now, there is times like I just wrote back to that person, and I don't usually even write back to people. And I was like, "You're a loser." Like I just wrote it. I was like, "You're a fucking loser." And I usually now sometimes I want to say F you, F this, and I just delete and block constantly if I get any of those messages. But I thought, how pathetic is that person? They don't know anything about my family. Someone could be sick, someone could be really struggling, I could be struggling. they don't know me, and they went out of their way to create that page. So I think I'm definitely getting better at understanding other people will talk no matter what it is you do. And like you say about PTs contacting you, everyone's going to have an opinion on us no matter what we do. And I just realized since being home that people have an opinion on everyone. It's just that we're on a platform and they feel like they can actually say it to our face. But people are talking about people down the road or their next door neighbor, and they're just doing it on a more subtle level. But I just wasn't ready for the fact that people feel it's okay to not only directly message you, but to say it to your face, which is what sometimes has happened to me. Like even last night I put up my video that I'd moved home, and one of the first comments someone wrote to me was, I moved home 2 years ago, biggest mistake of my life. Now they didn't think anything that they said was wrong. They just were giving me an opinion that I didn't ask for, and that they didn't realize saying those things can really knock me, because I think, oh fuck, well this person's was miserable at home, I'm going to be miserable. But people just say things without thinking, and that's what I'm realizing as well. They just like, why would you even write that to someone to say that you were miserable at home and they've just announced that they've moved home and that they're nervous about it? But they just don't think. It's an instant reaction online to just say something. And a lot of the people, like even there last week, I put up a video of me teaching, and I had two girls write underneath the comments. One wrote a comment and then I deleted hers, and then another one wrote it. And they were both teachers in Melbourne, and they wrote the same comments. So they were obviously ganging up on me. And they basically were like, we find this really insulting, highly insulting. We work really hard as teachers. And I thought, what the fuck is she talking about? Like, I'm literally saying the first 2 minutes of my morning are crazy. Like, it's crazy trying to get the kids settled, trying to get started. And I was actually showing how hard teachers work. And they still find a reason to be insulted by it when I'm on the same wavelength as them and I'm agreeing with them. Like, people will have an opinion of everything. And I just thought, oh my God. And when I deleted that comment, her friend wrote in, and I thought, people are just fucking mean. Like you say, there's just mean people out there who are looking to be insulted. So you do get a thicker skin. But yes, like you say, it no matter what, you're still human and it fucking hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's easy to sit here and say, oh, at the end of the day, it's like they're the ones who have a problem, and it's just basically them just holding up a mirror and getting triggered by something that you're doing. And yeah, that is true, absolutely. But I also think it's okay to accept that you are getting upset and to allow yourself to be like, no, I'm fucking sad. Like, that really insulted me and that really affected me. I think the worst thing we can do is to just dismiss our feelings and just be okay with like, okay, I am angry now, or I am sad. And then you can just allow that to pass through you. And then you can start thinking of, okay, is this actually true? Do I actually need to be upset by this person? No. Okay, cool. I can let it go. It's something that I found really powerful when I had people insult me or come up to me in the street and say mean things. Or here in Bali happens a lot when you're walking around in a bikini. People want to say stuff about you, or
Really?
Yeah, just the other day at the shops, there was someone who was like, oh, geez, this Gen Z or millennials, they just think that they can walk around in a bikini everywhere. Is that what we do now? Like, I've literally just come from the beach. Like, please. But
Crazy.
Yeah, but so what really helps me in these situations is to kind of just calm myself down first. Obviously, I get all the feelings out, and then just try and look at it from their point of view. So like, okay, what could be the reason why this person's saying this to me? Okay, maybe they feel really insecure in their body. Maybe they wish they would have started a business. Maybe they wish they had the guts to create a big Instagram page. Maybe they think that your teaching life looks better than theirs. And then you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Of course, that they're going to be feeling like they have to comment something like that. Like, it doesn't make it right, but it just makes it, I think it makes it easier for us to like kind of not be so, not have that cycle going in our heads of like, they're so dumb that they shouldn't have done that. I feel like shit. It just, for me, it's been really helpful to be like, okay, well, look, that was probably their reason. I can't change that because it's nothing to do with me.
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to take it on the chin, but it's hard. That is the double-edged sword of social media, where it creates so many amazing opportunities, but the other side of it, you get the negative side. And I find TikTok is crazy. TikTok's where I get the
God,
most trolling.
TikTok is the worst. I don't even
Crazy.
look at the comments there anymore.
Oh no, they don't impact me as much either, which is crazy. But TikTok's wild for it. Like my dog gets trolled on TikTok, and my poor dog can't even defend herself. But like that's how pathetic and petty trolling is. They find a reason. Like someone was trolling the fact that my dog couldn't walk in a straight line, and I was like, yeah, she's pretty blind. Like she's 17 and she's got arthritis and she can't walk in a straight line because she's fucking old. And then they were like, oh, and I thought, my God, people are nuts. Like it's crazy.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, you said something before about people are looking and literally going out looking to get triggered. And like,
Yep.
our mind has a way of justifying itself all the time. Like if you're looking for something, you're going to find it. So if you're going on social media wanting to get triggered, you're 100% going to find it. Like,
yeah.
Unfortunately, those are just, I think there's just always going to be people like that. And it just makes it so much easier for people like yourself who have a big following. Cause they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, she doesn't care. She's not going to respond. She has so many followers anyway. And, or like the worst one is you created this life for yourself. Like you wouldn't put yourself out there if you didn't want to get hate. And that is the worst one. I hate that one.
Sense. But someone told me, well, my dad told me before, which really made me feel a lot better. But Cristiano Ronaldo is undoubtedly one of the best footballers that has ever lived. And he's the most trolled footballer in the world, most trolled person in the world. And he's one of the most talented. And that just kind of brought me back down. And I was like, there's just, no matter who you are, like people will fucking troll you. And it's an awful existence, but I think it's definitely getting better. Although I've been told by, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this, and don't ever go on to it. I haven't ever gone on, but there's these platforms online. Have you heard of these platforms? There's like these really, like, it's almost like a virtual burn book from Mean Girls.
Oh my God.
These websites where people literally go on and troll anyone that has a social media platform. So like they'll literally, we're probably on it. I will not look at it because
no, absolutely not.
Want to get out of bed tomorrow. But people actually go on and create like threads about anyone that has any sort of following on Instagram and just troll them and say, she's this, she's that, her boyfriend's a drug dealer, this person. Apparently there was a rumor going around that my visa had been cancelled, and that's why I'm out of Australia. But I'm a citizen, so that's not true. But like just really negative things, and it just makes you think like, how are these things allowed to be like on the internet? Why are these okay to be there? Like that is allowing a platform for people to, really impact someone's mental health. So it's just fucking crazy.
That is absolutely insane. And you would have thought, like, with everything like that Facebook and Instagram are doing right now with like community guidelines, I feel like they are pretty on it. Sometimes a bit too on it, because sometimes I get posts deleted and I'm like, what are you doing? That was an informational post. Like that's nothing to do with spam or anything. But that shocks me. Oh my God, I'm never going to search for my name. I would.
No, don't ever do it.
Oh, that would be the worst.
I know people that have gone on and looked like out of curiosity, went on, and I'm like, why would you do that? And then they can't get out of bed for nearly a week. It's just really. But the people that are going on and writing that, imagine having the time in your day.
Oh God, yeah.
Like that's what you got to remember. You've got to look at it from that side and think someone is actually spending their day writing that, and then there are other people spending their day reading it. So,
God, yeah, absolutely crazy. All right, let's leave social media trolling because they are. If you don't have anything better to do than trolling people, then please stop listening to this podcast. Go and do something fun with your life. But I think that for me, the purpose of my page is always going to be like more important than the trolling. So I think that, guys, if you are struggling with like negative comments, or if you're afraid of starting your page, just remember the purpose that you have here. Like, what is your purpose? Do you want to help people lose weight? Do you want to help people create a healthy lifestyle? Do you want to help people with nutrition or mindset or whatever? Focus on that. And the people who are your people, they're going to find you. They're going to follow you, and they're going to be there for you and have your back. The other people, fuck them off. But so I met you the first time, I think it was one of your both parties that you used to do in Sydney. And since then, you've been on quite a journey with like big changes for you with like your mental health. Like when I first met you, you had kind of a lot of like party events, and then that kind of was less party, and then more like wellness, mindset, like yoga, meditation. You're really into like ice baths and stuff now. Like what sparked that kind of change?
It's so interesting that you picked up on that, because that was really from the beginning. It was like exactly that. It was all nightlife and partying. And then it got to the point where like we were a year and a half in. I don't know why we're saying we. It's just me, like a year and a half in on this crazy journey, trying to do all of this stuff by myself. And I think the boat party you were on, I think, was my last boat party. I don't think I did another one after that. Maybe there
I
was
think
one
you
more.
had one for Australia Day as well, because I was meant to be on the Australia Day, but then
Right.
I went to Sweden instead, because you know how I had COVID and couldn't go for Christmas, and
Right. Yeah.
I think that was your last one, or maybe
that's right.
I don't know, but I remember I bought tickets for it.
And I went. I think maybe that was the last one. But the last two that I had, I was really dreading going. Not for the event side of things. Like I obviously love helping people, but my life had changed. Like I didn't enjoy the party scene anymore, and I mean, now I've given up alcohol completely. But I was going through a phase in my life where nights out weren't serving me any purpose, where they were really impacting the rest of my week. And big nights out, like boat parties, where, you know, my boat parties, like if I'm going to throw a party, I'm going to throw a fucking good party. So they're all inclusive drinks. And it meant then that like I couldn't get out of bed for the next couple of days. And I wanted to like give everyone value for the money by doing all these all inclusive things. But then when I was at these things myself, I just thought, you know, I have a really busy week coming up, and then I've got this boat party and it's really impacting me. I have anxiety in the lead up to it, because I know how my hangover will impact my training, will impact my productivity, my diet, everything. And I just remember coming off that last boat party, and I turned around to James, my partner at the time, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not enjoyable for me. And I always said, because this was a hobby that I was doing this page for in these events, that as soon as it felt like a job, that I needed to stop what I was doing. And it felt like a job. Like, it felt like I was hosting an event and trying to get to the end of it without like not wanting to be there. And I thought, right, well, what do I actually really love doing? And I kind of stripped it back again and thought, I only really did the boat parties to try and get more guys to be involved and try and get them to come to the Sunrise socials and know that we have all of these different events. And boat parties was the only way to get men to start coming to things. And then I was like, why am I doing this? There's no point if I'm exhausting myself and mentally exhausting and draining my own happiness, that I'm trying to help other people. And if my cup's not full, I can't help anyone else. So I stripped it way back again, and I thought, right, I just like doing things during the day with this thing, and then I have the rest of the day myself. Whereas when I did the boat parties, you're getting ready all day, then you have the boat party that night, then you're out till a certain time of the night, then I'm drunk, then I'm twisting with James, then we were going home arguing, and then it would impact the rest of our week, as well as the, you know, like diet, skin, everything. So I was like, I'm just gonna go do the things that I love to do, which is Saturday mornings, and stick to the Sunrise socials again, and come back to the purpose of this whole thing. And because it got so big, I started just doing what everybody wanted me to do rather than what I wanted to do. And I started doing yogas again, and ice baths and things that I wanted to be part of and join in on. And I loved it even more then. And it was great for other people as well, because the boat parties, anybody can go to any boat party in Australia. You're not short of boat parties, but I wanted to offer a unique experience during the day. So when I started going back to doing those things, I was happier again and wanted to be part of it more, rather than at the boat parties, I nearly wanted to not be seen at the boat parties and kind of hiding in the corner because I wasn't enjoying myself and I didn't want anyone else to think that I wasn't this happy, bubbly person. Um, and I've enjoyed it much more, and I've been able to take the things that I really love back to Ireland here, like ice baths and the wellness side of things. And that's something that everybody needs in life. Not everybody needs a boat party, but everybody needs to look after their mental health. And it means you can carry that with you anywhere you go, and it makes you feel good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, or not everyone, but I know that there's a lot of people who kind of gone through the same kind of transition as you, and they kind of notice that what impact alcohol actually has on our health, and they can stay in your system for up to 2 weeks, and the anxiety after, and just having that whole week off your normal routines and stuff like that. But going from going out every weekend, and like you said before, like Sydney is a very social place. Like there's always parties going on. There's always not like the nightlife is really good. And God, I remember like when I lived there, like I was out every weekend, like every single weekend, because if you didn't go out, it's like, well, like what else can you do really? So you kind of feel like, well, I don't want to sit at home. Well, then I'm gonna go out and drink. Did you lose a lot of friends like during this time?
Yeah. I was in a relationship at the time, which was really helpful because it just meant that I had my person there. And it was in that time that I realized who my actual friends were and who were my party friends. Like there was people to go out partying with, and yet like those groups of people, but they didn't care whether you actually got home at the end of the night or actually once you got into the nightclub or whatever. If they lost you, they lost you. So it could be quite a lonely experience as well doing those things. Now on the other side of it, there was friends that I went partying with that I'm still best friends with now, but it was more the internal impact for me, like how I was feeling for the rest of the week, like things that I was doing, and just overall like feeling like I was just in this constant cycle like you in Sydney where I was just going out for the sake of it, and then was doing it again, and then Monday I was going into school and feeling like shit, and then maybe wouldn't get back to properly heavily training until Wednesday. I might go to the gym Monday, Tuesday, but I mean it wasn't even worth going for what I was doing. And I just started to think, right, what has to give here? And in Sydney, it's so crazy, right? Like you're so busy no matter what you do, and you're busy, you're up early, you're working all day, and then you socialize in the evening. There's a very little bit of time for downtime and rest. And when you are on your own in an apartment, you don't really want to be on your own. So you're better to just go and lie on the beach, but you're not getting your proper rest and relaxation. So I was constantly running on adrenaline and exhausted because of it, still doing things that I absolutely love to do. But I was like, I can't sustain this. Like I'm going to drop dead here, like trying to do all of these things, trying to party, trying to work hard, then trying to come home from work, do the podcast and all of these things. And I thought, right, what's one thing that I can eliminate now that won't impact me in a negative way? And it was alcohol. I was like, shit, like I didn't realize how much alcohol was impacting everything that I did, and like I'm Irish, we don't like give up alcohol. Like we are, coming out of the womb with a bottle of whiskey in our hands. We are born into this culture. We use alcohol for everything. For like we do wet the baby's head. My sister's baby was born yesterday. They have drinks that night to wet the baby's head.
Oh my
At funerals,
God, I didn't know that.
yeah. Funerals we have like people usually go on a session after a funeral. It's like our way of coping with things. So I knew that when I gave this up that I could end up really cutting off my social life completely. But that's all a mindset as well. And I find what has been a really big help this year to making it easy to give up alcohol is the 0%. I still go out and I'll have it like a Heineken, or they even do Coronas, like zero Coronas and stuff. And not only do you feel like you're having a drink and you're still out socializing, and it makes you want to stay out longer, because if I was sipping on a water, I'd probably get really tired really quickly. Whereas because I'm drinking a Corona or a zero Prosecco, the bubbles kind of make me feel a bit like, more happy to be there and excited and energized. And also then you get the other side of people don't crash drinking because they don't
Mm.
even notice, because that little zero sign is so small on the label to keep it nice and subtle that you don't have to worry about those things. So it's been the best thing I've ever done, and I wish I had done it sooner, because I still go out and party. And you probably find being in Bali, like, your probably most exciting times are when you're training, you're just having coffee with friends. I don't really know what alcohol does for any of us. We just feel like we have to have it in order to have a good night. But none
Mm.
of us have actually turned around and thought, let me try not having alcohol to have a good night and see how I go. Because we just automatically think, oh, well, there's no point in going out if I'm not drinking. So it's just trying to change that mentality.
Mm. Yeah, and I think what you're describing is so common as well for people. And I think for a lot of people, it's that fear of being judged and being questioned, and like, why are you not drinking? And like, what's wrong with you? You're not going to have fun, or I'm not going to invite you if you're not going to drink. And like, I get it, because I have definitely been that person as well who'd be like, oh, let's not invite her because she's not drinking. She's not going to be fun. She's just going to judge us. But at the end of the day, like, that was me being insecure, me being like, oh, am I going to make a fool out of myself in front of this person? Or I feel weird. I feel awkward because she's not drinking. Like, had absolutely nothing to do with that person. It was all me. But I think that, like you said, having those like 0% drinks to just have something there, I think that's a really good step for people who want to give up drinking, just because then you're having something in your hand and you can kind of get away a little bit from the questioning. And then people are going to see, like, wow, she's actually really good fun, even though she's not drinking alcohol.
Yeah, completely. And it can be a stigma. I think even what my biggest worry was about dating.
Mm.
The likes of those hinge apps where it gives you that option. Do you drink? And then you can say yes, no sometimes. And like it says, do you take drugs? Yes, no sometimes. Like, I was still putting in on my hinge profile, and still, I think it's still there, that I sometimes drink,
Mm.
because I feel like people automatically think, oh God, like, I'd hate to go on a date with her because what if I get drunk and she's not drinking? And but they need to meet you to see that. Like, I was out in Belfast last weekend and I was out till 2:30 in the morning,
Mm.
and nobody fucking knew I wasn't drinking. And somebody wrote to me the next day and apologized. They were like, I'm so sorry. I was like burning your ear off for like 2 hours and I'm so embarrassed. And like, I just wrote back to him being like, I thought it was funny. Like, don't start thinking that you have to apologize because I'm sober. Like, he didn't even know I was sober.
Yeah.
Only that I saw my stories, and I was like, it made no difference. You didn't know I was sober, and I was having fun chatting to you. Like, I thought it was really funny, the repetitiveness of it, you know. Um, but yeah, I think, and it, like, you don't have to give up drinking. And for me, and you probably find in your industry as well, people give up drinking for purposes of like the physical appearance or whatever.
Mm.
For me, it's a mental health thing, and you got to protect your mental health at all costs. And for me, alcohol just needed to go. And I wasn't even a big drinker, Ellen. Like I
Mm.
wasn't my mom says you sound like an alcoholic the way I talk sometimes. I wasn't even a big drinker. It was just that I would feel sad.
Mm. Yeah. No, I think it's so brave that you've done that and that you've gone through that yourself. Like, I think there's a lot of people who probably want to, and like, I have this conversation like weekly with my girls that they're like, oh well, I want to go to this party, but I'm afraid that if I don't drink, I'm not going to be involved, or if I don't eat the food, that I'm not going to be involved, and I don't want to miss out. And like you said, like, you don't have to give it up completely, but it's just about matter of having something that feels good for you and feels good. Like, if you feel good by having one or two glasses, have one or two glasses then. You don't have to get absolutely trashed every single time you go out. Just like you don't have to eat every single thing that's on the table just to kind of fit in or make someone else happy. If it doesn't make you happy, what the hell is the point?
Exactly, exactly. It's just everyone's perception and mindset. It's like, you just have to look after you, and that's all that matters. And
Mm.
stay true to yourself, because there's been times where I thought maybe I should just drink because people are making me believe that I'm not going to have fun. But screw what anyone else thinks. It's what you think.
Yeah,
know?
definitely. And that kind of goes into like your decision of moving to Australia, moving back home as well. And like I can imagine, like obviously you didn't tell that many people before you left, and I think that's a really good idea. And I think that a lot of times we seek that validation and like go to others for advice, but in reality, like we always have the answers ourselves. Like we just have to be more in tune with our bodies and what we're actually feeling, and not ask every single person for advice. And that's something that I've really found with dating, especially here in Bali, because you
Yeah.
meet so many different people, and like everyone has, like, people are only giving you advice based on their own personal experience, right? So you might go on a date with someone, and then they might, not message you for a day or whatever. And one of your friends is going to be like, dump him, he's an asshole, he's just breadcrumbing you or whatever, like he's not, doesn't deserve you. The other one might be like, he's just busy, like give him another chance. And then another one have a completely different opinion. And it's the same thing with drinking, with like you moving home. Like if you're always talking to other people and asking for their opinion, it's going to be really hard to understand, to like see what's actually true for you and what you actually want to do.
Completely. I find that I always ask people for their opinion, always, like all my friends, I'll ask them about guys, I'll ask them about things. And I've made decisions based on other people's opinions. I've made decisions about relationships, about how I cope with the ending of a relationship. Like, you shouldn't talk to him and fuck him and do this, do that. And then there's times where I'm like, but I actually need to go and sit down with him and have an adult conversation. But your friends, obviously they think they know what's best, but sometimes what they think is best is not actually what's best. And sometimes you do need to go and sit with that person and have a coffee and air it out and move forward together. Or some people make mistakes, and sometimes it's okay to give people a second chance or listen to what they have to say. But the friends mentality is definitely always like, fuck him and close that door. And I get it, and they mean well, but you also don't want to look back and have any regrets. And I think the best thing I ever did, Alan, was before I left Australia, I wrote myself a letter. And I don't even know why I thought of it, but I knew that I would be constantly torn between what I wanted to do. And I also knew when I got home here that I would be looking on my Instagram and thinking, what the fuck have I done? Like watching everyone's stories in Bondi and all of these things. And I wrote myself a letter before I left, and it was the best thing I ever did, because every couple of days, sometimes every day, I have to read that letter before I start the day, or when I finish the day. I have it beside my bed, and I remember why I came home. And it can be so easy to get caught up in and putting rose tinted glasses on your life out in Australia. And I wrote in that letter things like, you've been here 7 years, and like there was times where when I was in Australia, I was looking at my story while I was there and thinking, like I was looking at me at the ice baths that morning, when I'm making my reels or whatever, and be like, fuck, that looks class. But knowing that I actually wasn't really happy whenever I was down there, but I was convincing myself watching my video that I have a really fucking amazing life, which I did. I had an amazing life, but it was the times in between that you quickly forget about, where I would go home and, I'd broken up with James at this point, and I was going back to my empty apartment, and I hadn't cooked a meal for myself in nearly 2 months, because what was the point in cooking for one person? So I was just having some yogurt and fruit for dinner. I lost a dramatic amount of weight because I wasn't taking care of my body, and I was napping a lot in between all the busyness. So I would literally have these like 20-minute power naps in between the day. And there was times where I would go home, and I would have forgotten about this if I hadn't wrote it down, where I would go home and I would nap, and see that moment I would wake up from that 20-minute nap where you just open your eyes and you can hear the busyness of Sydney outside. And I was waking up in this apartment, and I would never have felt like so sad. And like I'd wake up and I just felt really sad. But then I would get busy and I would go and do it again, and I would just bottle up, bottle and bottle up. But reading that letter, I remember, God, I wasn't actually okay. Like I was really struggling myself, but I was more concerned about helping everyone else, but not really happy in myself. So writing that letter has kept me focused and remembered why I'm here. And there's times where I sit on my phone instead of being present with my family, and I have to really shake that in the head. And there's my dad now takes my phone off me in the evening so that I'm present while I'm here, because what's the point of coming the whole way over here to stare down at my phone? I need to now like be connected to the people that I'm talking to. So it's like it's a whirlwind, but I'm sure you find it in Bali as well. Like it's a different life to Sydney.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like you said, it's so easy to look back and look at your stories or look at your friends' stories and you're like, oh, that looks amazing, or Bondi is so beautiful, or like everyone's having a good time, and like, oh, that place that we always go out to, and like with those friends, and like your brain has a kind of a way of just like sorting through and remembering all the good stuff. But like you said, like you do have to remind yourself of the bad stuff as well, and that you weren't happy there. And all the times, like I remember I had so many times where I was just like, all I wanted to do was just get back here. I just wanted to get back to Bali. And I was there was so long that I struggled to just find happiness and any purpose. So I was like, I just want to fast forward and move. And then I get here, and all I wanted to do was go back to Bondi. But it's just a matter of, like you said so many times, like matter of your mindset, matter of your perception. Like the grass is going to be greener where you water it. And if you're constantly focusing and thinking, I should be over there, this looks so much better, that looks so much more fun, you're not focusing on what you have right in front of you. You're missing out on all of these opportunities. You're missing out on all these cool experiences, all these cool people. Like since I had that shift, like we spoke about just before we started recording, how in January I was like, I'm fed up of my shit. Like I'm fed up feeling like crap. I need to change something in my life. And since then, opportunities are just coming like one after the other. I'm connecting with amazing people. Like, but you do need to make that decision for yourself. You can't just sit around, be unhappy, look at someone else's story and think, wishing that you had their life or wishing that your life looked like the past. If you're not happy, like do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny how you think that in Bali as well about, oh, I need to go back to Bondi. But we forget about those like days and those, even some things like just even there would be times where I'd go down to the grocery store and I just couldn't be bothered being there. And I knew that I'd have to like put all of these things into my grocery basket and backpack. And I'd be walking up the road with all of this grocery, like all these groceries and the weight of it. And I just kept thinking, I'd love to have a car, or I can't wait to get back home and invest in a nice car, or to have nice furniture again. And it is like the grass is green where you water. And what I've done since I've come home is just embed my Australian lifestyle, the things that made me happy in Australia. And that was a big thing. And I just released my first episode of the new season of the podcast today about coming home. And it was the big epiphany for me in Australia and knowing when to come home was I wrote down all the things that make me happy. And it was literally like, I was like, right, what makes me happy? And I wrote it down, and it was coffee, dips in the sea, ice baths, yoga, going to the gym and routine, and a couple of good friends around me. And I looked at the list and I was like, holy shit, you can do them anywhere in the world and be happy. But it took me to move to Australia to know that that would make me happy. Like I didn't even know I'd like ice baths, or wasn't like I was into my fitness, but not to the extent I am now. And travel and like time are big things. As time moves forward, you change as a person. And I was like, shit, I can do all those things at home. And since coming home, like before our meeting this morning, like it's fucking freezing in Ireland, and I went and had a cold seawater dip, and there's no one else doing it but me and two guys. Like
I can imagine.
People aren't even walking their dogs. Like it's fucking cold outside. And I did that. I had my coffee, I had my breakfast. I got up at sunrise with my dad before he went to work. And I'm happy. Like I am fucking happy. And like that's what we have to remember. Like forget about Instagram. Forget about other people in your industry that are doing better than you or looking better than you or make better TikToks than you. Fuck all of that. Like all this social media stuff is going to go someday. But you don't want to look back and regret spending your time worrying about your followers or your content or, you know, how to get better than someone else. You want to look back and say, I was really happy. That's all that matters in life. That is all that matters. And that's why I always think every day with Instagram and stuff, it's a bonus to my life. It is not my whole life. it's a bonus, and you have to keep that mindset. Otherwise it can take over and you'll lose out on years of your life. Like there's going to be a lot of people in our generation that are going to look back in 20 and 30 years time and think, what the fuck was I thinking? Why did I care so much about those things? I don't remember my 20s or my 30s because I was staring at my phone. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I love what you said about, how you can be happy anywhere, and how you wrote that list for yourself of what is actually important to me. So I think that's something that we forget because we're so busy looking at what makes other people happy, or what we think makes other people happy. And we think that that person happy because they're making this much money, or they have a really gorgeous boyfriend, or they live in paradise. But you don't actually really know what's going on behind the screen. Like someone can just, we basically just see someone's highlight reels. Like people only show what they want us to see. So I think it's a really good point that you made, that if you write down all the stuff that makes you truly happy, you're probably going to see that it has nothing to do with the location and everything to do with how you're feeling inside.
Completely. And it's my overused slogan, but it's so true. Happiness is not a postcode, but it's so fucking true. I was like trying to travel to the ends of the earth to get away from home to be happy. And then I realized that like it's an inside job, completely inside. And that comes with age, but I think it's important to travel as well and to do all these things and just be at peace with yourself and happy to be on your own and in your own company.
Yeah, definitely. I think travel really teaches you to be alone and to experience new cultures and see everything in the world. But I think for a lot of people it can be seen as like an escape, that you're always kind of on the run from something. And it will get to the point when everything just catches up to you and you see that you can't actually run from your problems. I think we've all probably tried to do that. But that doesn't work. And the only thing that's going to work is actually sit down, sort your stuff out, I highly recommend working with a coach, and really like doing things that really brings you back to the present, because like all the stuff that you just mentioned, like yoga, meditation, ice baths, training, like, those are all things that keep you in the present. It's not something to distract you. And that's the key thing that we all need to remember, that we like you literally cannot be anxious in the present. If you're truly present, there's no problems. And it's so, I think it's so inspiring to see, like, I've seen your journey and everything that you've gone through. And I think it's so good that there are people like you out there who are so open about sharing this kind of stuff. And I think it's freaking so cool that you're like, no, I'm done with the Australian dream. I don't care that all of these companies, because I know you work with a lot of different companies in Australia. I don't care that I can't work with them anymore, and that you're growing this page. Like, I think it's fucking amazing. I think it's so cool. And if that's not what you want to do anymore, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's big risk. But the weight off my chest when I actually tuned into how I was feeling, and like I was in turmoil for like nearly the guts of the pandemic, and it being over since then, like a good year and a half, I've been questioning this decision. And when I actually made the decision, because my ego was taken over, and I was thinking, I can't go back home. I'll not be happy there. When I tuned into who I am as a person, I thought, I want to go home. And the weight that lifted off my shoulders when I decided was crazy. And I've been really happy at home. Now there has been tough days, but fuck, I had them in Australia as well. But at least now, after this podcast, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea with my mum. I'm going to see my new niece. I've done my swim. I've gone for sunrise. Like, I'm happy, and I'm working. Like, I'm still working around the clock, and I'm just seeing new parts of the world. I'm going in 3 weeks' time to Poland to train with Wim Hof, to go and hike with him, and in the snow. I know, which I'm so excited about. And I couldn't do that in Australia. Australia is so fucking far away from everything that it wasn't easy to go and do those things. And then I'm going to New York in 4 weeks, and all these cool things. Like, so life's what you make of it, and we only get one go at it. So there's no point in sitting somewhere unhappy.
Absolutely, 100%. And like, you've now finished your life in Australia, and now you're moving, or now you moved to Ireland, and look at all these opportunities that's open up for you because you followed your heart. You followed what you wanted to do. That wouldn't have happened if you stayed in Australia. It just shows that when you're following the path that you're meant to be on, and when you are looking at your own path and not too busy looking at what everyone else is doing, everything's going to come into place. Like, everything that's meant for you will always be there. So stop looking at what everyone else is doing and just focus on yourself. Like, you're the prime example. You moved to Australia, had this crazy, amazing life there. Now you moved home. You're going to have a crazy, amazing life here as well. You could move to Bali. Please move to Bali. And that will be amazing as well.
My mother, she'll kill me if I leave again. I'll come visit. I'll come for a holiday.
Well, before we run up, I just say that we've talked for like almost an hour. What is the plan now? Like, are you going to go back? Like, are you teaching, or are you going to work more online? Like, what's the plan for Accounted Down Under?
Oh, so it's strange. Like, I actually went and did a day's teaching. I was offered a 6-month post, which is really hard to get in Ireland. And I was offered the 6-month job, and I went in for one day about 3 weeks ago, and I did the full day. And then I got to the end of the day and I was like, I'm not happy. Like, this isn't making me happy, because the workload here for teaching, like, teachers get it really fucking tough here. There's a lot of teacher strikes and stuff. There's plenty of job opportunities, but the teachers work 10 times harder than I was in Australia, and I worked hard in Australia. But I got to the end of the day and I thought, fuck this. Like, I didn't come home to just get back into that negative mindset and feeling like work's my whole life and all those things. So I declined the job at the end of the day, and they were kind of like, what? Like, because people here, if you get a job, you're in it for 40 years. It's not like in Australia where, you know, people change jobs all the time. Yeah, they're literally here, like, you're in that job for the rest of your life. My teachers are still in the same school that when, you know, I was in P1 or year 1 or whatever they call it, kindy. But like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just the way we've been brought up. Like, you work to live, live to work. And yeah, I turned it down. So I was like, I want to just fulfill my passions this year. And I worked really hard in Australia, that I have a lot of savings, thank God, like, from working really hard, that everything here is just a bonus. So I'm going to travel a lot, but every day I'm working with an education company, Anzuk Education, to recruit teachers to Australia. And I'm in Dublin tomorrow with that. I'm in Liverpool next month, London, Edinburgh, Galway, you know. So I'm doing that for like 6 months. And then I'm doing podcasts and doing all these other things. Like, it's so busy. I didn't expect to be like sitting at my desk every day, but I'm so glad I am, because I need the routine. But it's really nice to know that I can do all these mental health events here, because Ireland really needs that kind of stuff. Like, you know, in Northern Ireland especially, we have one of the highest suicide rates in Europe. So I want to try and bring all of my mental health stuff here. I've been doing my retreats and ice baths and things. So I plan to do more of them. But right now, I'm trying to like not get caught up too much in that. I want to be slowing down and traveling first and doing stuff for me, and then getting into that. I definitely will get back into teaching, even if it's only a couple of days a week. I want to get back. I love teaching kids, but I want to go down the mental health route of education and see how I can help kids look after their minds better. But there's so much to do, and I honestly, it's so funny, Ellen. I thought I would come home and I was like, I'm gonna have all this time to do TikToks. I'm gonna, like, my content's gonna be insane. I'm gonna have all these hours. I have had no time, nor have I wanted to even make a TikTok. And I thought I would have all this time in the world being my own boss, but there's no time. Like, there is no time. It was so funny. I was like, how did I was smashing out 3 or 4 TikToks after school every day, because I felt like this is my only window of opportunity. But when you become your own boss, then it's like, I'll do the TikToks. It always goes to the back of the bottom of the list. And then when it comes to it, I'm like, oh, fuck no, I can't be arsed. So, very rare. No TikToks being made around here.
No, I think your content is still smashing it. So I think you're doing pretty well there. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's been so nice to talk to you. I feel like there's so many things that I still want to ask you, but I'm not going to keep you much longer. Thank you so much again for coming on, and please come to Bali to see me. Otherwise, I will try and come to Ireland. I will be going home for my brother's wedding in August, so I will try and make a stop in Ireland if you're coming.
Dude, come see me. I'd love to see you.
But if people want to find you, like obviously we'll link your Instagram below and your podcast as well. Is there anything else that you want to plug too?
Probably my if for anybody that wants to move to Australia, the reason I created this ebook was because people didn't realize, but I was actually closing that chapter of my life. So if you're wanting to move to Australia and you have any questions about it, because I will now be changing my own content, the ultimate guide is online. It's a downloadable ebook. You can get it on the link on my website, and it's everything you ever need for moving to Australia. And I really recommend going to Australia. It's changed my life. And yeah, that's it. Just if you want to follow the journey of someone who's moved home after traveling the world, then give me a follow.
Yeah, no, I think it's so inspiring because we always hear about, oh, I moved out of home and I like all these opportunities for me, but we never really hear about the people who moved back to their hometown and freaking look what it's got you. Look at these opportunities. Like you wouldn't have had them if you stayed in Australia and listened to what everyone else said and what you should be doing. Screw the shoulds. Like just do whatever you want to do.
Thank you so much.
Well, guys, you know the drill by now, but if you like this episode, please make sure you do take a screenshot. You tag myself, you tag Caroline, you tag Women's Fitness Academy. We love to connect with you, and it just honestly it makes me so happy when I log on to Instagram and I see all these tags from you guys listening to episodes. So please keep doing it. I love seeing it. And make sure you do check out Caroline's podcast as well. I think it's really, really good. And there's so many episodes on there that I've been like bawling my eyes out, like walking my dogs. Be prepared for that. Well, thanks everyone. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.